Hello, dear colleagues and friends. I really don't like keeping airline CEOs waiting. We are very lucky that we have a very patient group executive CEO at Ethiopian Airlines, Ato Mesfin, because he has other appointments and he could have left, but he kindly waited, and we are truly grateful. Thank you. The idea of this one-to-one interview is to probe a little deeper into Ethiopian Airlines. Ato Mesfin, you've done so many interviews in the last 1 year. It's been amazing, and you always do it very well. It's quite impressive. I wish I had those skills that you have in coming up with the right words and phrases. So congratulations. Let me start, and I'm sure more people will join us. South African Airways is seeking a strategic equity partner after the recent collapse of its proposed equity deal with a local company. Will ET once again offer to assist SAA, sir?
Thank you, Nick. Ethiopian Airlines strategy is to partner with other African airlines at selected locations. We have been doing this for two reasons. Number one, to establish a partner who will work with Ethiopian Airlines. And secondly, we take it as a responsibility to actively contribute to the development of the African air transport industry. We have done this in Togo with ASKY, in Malawi with Malawi government, and in Zambia. We are open to have another partnership in the southern part of Africa, particularly with South African Airways. But before we do that, we have to do due diligence to ensure that the conditions are convenient or conducive to work in partnership. And also we have to make sure that once we are engaged in this partnership, it has to be successful. So in summary, subject to due diligence, we are open to start the dialogue with the South African government.
Thank you so much. So that is a yes rather than a no, with conditions?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. I do hope that SAA will have some words with you and see what the possibilities are.
We'll be happy to do that.
Thank you very much. Following on from that question, you've been very successful with your joint venture and others, but particularly ASKY in Togo, and congratulations on that. Remarkable. But I want you to tell us, please, why have the ventures, the JV, proposed JV in South Africa and in Nigeria in particular, why have they not materialized? What are the underlying factors? Thank you.
You are right that our JV initiative in Togo has been a very successful and a good model for Sub-Sahara South-South cooperation. In Togo, the idea was initiated by one individual. His name is Chairman Jondo, who initiated the idea of establishing a West African airline. And Togo was selected because the Togolese government created or offered a very conducive environment to set up an airline. The JV was between Ethiopian Airlines and other institutional investors, particularly bankers. The airline operated purely on a commercial basis, and now it has become the leading airline in West Africa, flying to 29 cities in West and Central Africa. It's not, the airline today operates 15 aircraft, but what we are proud is that the airline is founded on a solid foundation with solid governance and a very robust leadership. So the success of ASKA Airlines is that the operating environment was conducive, and Ethiopian Airlines has the freedom to manage it the same way that it is managing itself. When it comes to Nigeria, the initiative was taken by the Nigerian government to establish a national carrier in partnership among Ethiopian Airlines and other investors, including the government having a small share. Even though we understood the business environment in Nigeria was challenging, we took it as a challenge and we started establishing the airline. But in the middle, a group of airlines, Nigerian airlines, opposed the idea of establishing this national carrier with under a partnership with Ethiopian Airlines. They took the case to court and they brought injunction for that. Even then, the former Nigerian government strongly supported the idea, but after change of government, the new government wanted to suspend the project. So we had no choice but again to suspend the project. Initially, it was the request of the government. Now the government wants us to postpone it. That is why. So the issue became more political than business. That is why it was discontinued. Regarding South African Airways, I was not involved at the time. It was my predecessor, and I don't know exactly. I will be assuming and misleading if I talk about that. But now we have seen the interest, and we would like to give it a try. We wanted to evaluate it, and hopefully we may engage in the partnership. But I cannot tell what happened in the past.
Thank you so much. I mean, Ethiopian Airlines has always said over many years, over many leaders, excuse me, that it cannot do it alone. At the moment, Ethiopian is carrying Africa, pulling Africa in the aviation industry, but it needs other strong African airlines. And I sincerely believe that great countries in Africa, such as Nigeria, South Africa, we can all learn from each other. I do believe and engage with each other. So I do hope you are able to find a way forward in fostering greater partnerships with other airlines and countries in Africa. Now, my next question is, in Africa, airlines and governments and others have been preaching, real preaching, about SATM and Yamoussoukro decision, seeking market access for 30 years. Can you imagine it? How serious are we in Africa? 30 years plus, just to get market access to next door. It's amazing. We say we are serious, but we're not actually seeing the results. So my question is to you, it seems to me that ET has adopted a really brilliant strategy. You talk about YD and SATM, of course, but you have gained traffic rights and market access in other African countries by forming airline joint ventures, which I believe, in my own view, has given you an amazing penetration. For example, your partnership with Sky gives you access to the ECOWAS market. because ISCAI has all the benefits of being an ECOWAS member. So you do benefit from that partnership in accessing markets. Is that a correct assessment?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
The purpose of establishing regional airlines within Africa under a joint venture is not to bypass the traffic right restrictions. I can explain this with evidence in relation to ASCAI Airlines. Earlier I said that ASCAI Airlines flies to 29 cities in West Africa. Out of these 29 cities, we have traffic right at least in 25 countries. So we already have the traffic right. That's not the goal of establishing partner airlines in the different corners of Africa. As I said earlier, the prime reason is to establish strong partners who will have access to small cities in those regions and who can feed Ethiopian Airlines, and Ethiopian Airlines will feed to that partner airline. Means our reach will be enhanced, but still that is being done in countries where we have adequate traffic rights. But the partnership contributes for mutual success of the two airlines. I give you one example. We fly to Accra, Ghana. In fact, twice a day, day and evening. ASCAI flies to Accra twice a day. So there is no partnership there in terms of overriding the traffic right restriction. But all passengers who prefer to fly on Ethiopian, and particularly those flying to destinations where ASCAI doesn't fly, they fly on Ethiopian. When it is West Africa, passengers prefer ASCAI and they take ASCAI flights from Accra. But we feed each other in Lome. When ET flies across Atlantic using Lome, Ghanaians take ASCAI from Accra, come to Lome, take Ethiopian Airlines to fly to the United States. This is the type of feed and defeed arrangements that we have. So the assumption that Ethiopian Airlines is overcoming the traffic right restrictions through the joint venture is not accurate.
Thank you very much, and I do respect your position. But as an aviation analyst in Africa, I would like to agree with you. Excuse me. I want to agree with you 100% that gaining traffic rights was not the goal. But it's an important side benefit for you, in my view. But I will not belabor the point, because we respect the fact that you are doing it. You are in so many countries in Africa, and you have these partnerships which seem to be very successful. So congratulations on that. I'll move on to my next question. You know, when you look at the global airline industry and the major airline alliances, Star Alliance, SkyTeam, etc., over the years, I have analyzed the effectiveness of African airlines which are members of global alliances. How are they effectively using membership of that global alliance? And I remember doing a study on Kenya Airways and Ethiopian 10 or more years back. And from our analysis, it was quite clear that compared to Kenya Airways, and I have so much respect and friendship for Kenya Airways and of course Kenya and Kenyans, but Kenya Airways, since it joined SkyTeam, in my view, from the analysis, from the data, has not effectively used Nairobi as a hub, whereas you have used your membership of the Star Alliance to effectively build probably the most powerful international hub within Africa. And you need to be congratulated on that. So what is the scope for further building your hub at Addis, based on your membership of a global alliance?
As you know, there are 3 global alliances today, and where Ethiopian Airlines is a member of the Star Alliance. We believe we have benefited from our membership to Star Alliance in different ways. The first one is it enabled us to continuously reassess our services to meet and match the Star Alliance service standards. It also enabled us to contribute and share in other Star Alliance initiatives. Of course, Star Alliance is the largest airline alliance in the globe, and it is the most successful one, as recognized by many industry parties. The other one is the different code share agreements we have with most members of the alliance, including United in the US, Canada, Air Canada, Singapore Airlines in the Asian market, and Lufthansa in Europe. Even though 3 airlines in Africa are members of the Star Alliance, and we share markets significantly, still we benefit out of this partnership. The other area is the frequent flyer program and so on. So it's not only our membership to the Star Alliance that we have a strong hub in Addis Ababa, but all other strategic initiatives have also helped us to make Addis Ababa probably now the biggest hub in Africa. We would like to continue working with members of Star Alliance to enhance our cooperation in all aspects that is exercised by the Star Alliance. I cannot talk about my sister airline, Kenya Airways. I don't have information about that.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was our independent observation, not said by ET. And I think when I analyze the hub at Addis and sit there outside the lounge where the passengers are, it's like being in an African market. You know, at the peak periods, it's amazing, amazing. The footfall of passengers. Congratulations, really impressive. Now, as Addis is building, it will shortly be replaced by a new airport in Bishoftu. Bishoftu. So when you have this new airport at Bishoftu, which has a huge potential in expanding your passenger numbers, what will happen to Addis Airport? Are you going to build a new hotel, for example, at Bishoftu to match the one you have here, but that we're in right now, for example?
Yes, for those of you who are not aware, Ethiopian Airlines has a plan to build a new giant airport about 40 kilometers south of Addis Ababa. The existing airport at Bole has served us to reach where we are today. This year, we have planned to transport 18 million passengers by June for the fiscal year. And the capacity of the airport is 25 million passengers per year. So in the coming 1 or 2 years, we will reach to the optimal capacity of this airport. That raised the requirement to set up a new airport, because we are at the center of the city and there is no room for further expansion at the current site. The new airport is planned to have a capacity of 100 million passengers per year, 4 times the capacity of this. And it is expected to be completed, the first phase to be completed in about 5 years. When that airport is completed, we will move all our international passenger operation to the new airport. And the existing airport will continue providing service for domestic operation. We have a big domestic operation. We fly, last year alone, we transported 2.6 million passengers. And this year, it will exceed 3.5 million. So the airport will have a good operation with domestic operation. But in addition to that, we have a lot of infrastructure already built in the existing airport. Our MRO facility will continue to operate from here, and particularly cargo. We have a big cargo facility, and our current plan is to retain our international cargo operation in this existing old airport. On the other hand, the new airport is expected to be an airport city. It will not be only airport, but it will have a lot of facilities related to the aviation itself, like partial MRO, partial cargo, because we carry cargo in the belly of the passenger aircraft. We need another facility there. But it will have several hotels and probably manufacturing facilities intended for export purpose and others. It will be an airport city with a lot of facilities there. The 2 airports will be connected with a fast train so that there will be easy connectivity between the 2 airports.
Yeah, it's very impressive, and congratulations on that. I had wondered many times what will happen to Addis, Bole, and was wondering what will happen to ETMRO. Would you, I mean, sending them down to Bishoftu would be impossible almost, you know, to build new hangars there. So it seems to make sense to me. Thanks so much. Now, turning to another subject, when you look at the ET route network, very impressive. East-west, very impressive. North-south, or let me say Central Africa, Southern Africa, very impressive. But when we look at from Addis northwards, in my view, in Africa, it's really Cairo you're serving, which is the key airport hub in East Africa. But there is a growing hub in West Africa, Morocco, Casablanca, which has grown amazingly. And I just wonder why, or maybe let me rephrase it. Are you planning to serve Casablanca in the near future? Because looking around Africa, I mean, I believe in hub to hub, and this is a key hub in Africa. Thank you.
Nick, that is a good question. You are right that Ethiopian Airlines African network covers only sub-Saharan Africa, but not the northern part of Africa. It has a historical reason that the North African countries are mostly linked with Europe and the Arab countries. Their business transactions, their trade, their tourism, and other alignments are not so far with sub-Saharan Africa. That is because of this that we didn't fly. As a commercial airline, we fly only when there is opportunity for traffic. However, recently we had internal discussions to consider Morocco and Algeria, particularly Casablanca and Algiers. We are seriously considering that. We are undertaking a market study to start flying there. In fact, we had discussions with Royal Air Maroc on how to serve the route Addis Ababa Casablanca jointly. And I hope that in the coming 1 or 2 years, we will open these new routes.
Thank you so much, Ato Mesfin. Let me turn to another subject. About a year ago or more, Ethiopian was rumored to be considering ordering either the Airbus 220 or the Embraer 195. Is this proposed order now off the table?
No, it is still on the table. Today, when we see our fleet profile, we operate the de Havilland Q400 aircraft with a seat capacity of between 67 and 82 seats only, whereas this fleet is serving primarily the domestic market and a few regional markets. On the other hand, we operate the Boeing 737 NG and MAX airplanes with a seating capacity of 156 and 160. There is a big gap between maximum 80 and 160 seats. That is why we have been exploring the possibility of acquiring airplanes with a seating capacity of around 100, 110. In the past, as you rightly said, we had shortlisted the two aircraft models as suitable candidates for us. But while we were finalizing our selection, we found out that there is an industry problem with the new technology engine. So we decided to wait until this problem is resolved. So still we are waiting to have a solution for this. But as soon as the problem is fixed, we will make a decision as to which aircraft model ET will be acquiring.
Okay, excellent. And I think that's a very wise decision because there are many airlines around the world who have taken delivery of new technology aircraft, and the new aircraft have been delivered and are parked. Engine problems, etc., which have not been resolved. I know some airlines in Africa have been affected. So as always, ET is very wise and has delayed taking a decision, delayed making a commitment. Let me turn to your order book. You have a huge amount of aircraft at the moment, and you intend, according to what you've said previously, to order about 128 brand new aircraft. I mean, you already operate over 100 aircraft, I believe the largest fleet in Africa, modern fleet, by the way. And you want to order 128 new aircraft, 2024 now. My question is, the downfall of many African airlines historically has been a huge capital expenditure program. Their balance sheets have been too weak to sustain capital expenditure on shiny, brand new, wonderful new aircraft. How does ET safeguard that it will not over-leverage its balance sheet by ordering too many new aircraft? And I don't believe you've ever defaulted, as far as I know, which is amazing in Africa and around the world, by the way. But I'm wondering what risks, what mitigation are you taking so that you don't overburden your balance sheet with debt? Thank you.
Yes, recently, during the last 1 year, we ordered around 124 aircraft, both from Boeing and Airbus. It's the largest order in the history of Ethiopian Airlines, but I think this is also the largest order in the history of Africa. So people may assume that this is an aggressive move and it's risky. But this decision was done after very careful consideration. And it is in line with the fleet plan stipulated in our Vision 2035 strategic roadmap. There are a number of mitigation plans built in our strategy. For example, let me tell you, out of these 124 aircraft, only 70 are firm orders. The other 54 are options that we can exercise only depending on the global industry trend. The global air transport industry, including the economic development, follows cyclic patterns. So we will order the options. We will confirm the options only when the business environment is favorable. On the other hand, we will not purchase all these 17 aircraft. Some of them will be on finance lease, for which we will go to banks for loan, but on the others, it will be sell and lease back. So they will be under operating lease. This will reduce our risk of borrowing. On the other hand, we have made proper cash flow forecast to ensure that we will always remain below the risk level whenever we acquire the aircraft at the different years. This aircraft order is for delivery until 2030, not 2035. So after a few years, we will do another fleet planning exercise to add more airplanes for the period between 2030 and 2035. Our Vision 2035 requires us to operate 271 airplanes by 2035. Part of this order will go for replacing older airplanes that are in our fleet who will be aged and who need replacement, and part of them will be only additional fleet. So with this arrangement, we will be controlling the risk.
Okay, thank you so much. Cash is still king in the airline industry. There's no doubt about it. And many African airlines have been burned by the lack of cash. But from what you've just said, you are quite confident that ET is unlikely ever to face liquidity challenges.
No. If we see our history, in our history of 78 years, ET never failed to settle its debts on time. Even at the most difficult time of COVID, well, when most airlines were in a difficult situation, we continued paying our debts. And we never returned any aircraft to lessors. We never downsized. It's because of this that the financial institutions are very, very confident in Ethiopian Airlines. And that is why they are still confident to give us the amount of money that we wanted to borrow to finance our fleet acquisition and our infrastructure development.
It's quite amazing, and congratulations. I'm so impressed. Such a huge capex commitment, never defaulted. In the past, how many decades we've been in the industry, it's amazing the number of African airlines, and others, by the way, around the world, that have defaulted on leases and finances. So I must congratulate you. And I do hope other African airlines will learn from your strategy and because they really need to. Thank you.
Yeah. If you allow me, Nick.
Yes.
Look, I'm telling this boldly because unlike others, we manage our financial resources with the greatest care. When we borrow money from the banks, we make sure that that money is invested in a sound investment. This is one important characteristic of Ethiopian Airlines. And secondly, we always control our costs. We have that strong discipline. That gives us the confidence. And Ethiopian Airlines is extremely careful in handling its debts. Others may use the money, and we give first priority to settle our debts whenever they are due, instead of investing it in another area. So these are very, very important things that our colleague airlines have to learn from us.
I do so much agree with you. Turning to the increasing problem of supply chain difficulties. Now we are at the MRO Africa conference. Many of the main suppliers are here. How can we improve or solve the problems affecting supply chain management?
Well, it's very clear. Today, I have to admit that we are suffering from part shortage. As I mentioned this morning during my welcome speech, the shortage of spare parts has created a great burden on all airlines, including Ethiopian Airlines. We have grounded some of our airplanes because of shortage of engines. The nature of the problems that we are facing today is, number one, we don't get spare parts when we need them. So we want our suppliers to work with their supply chain aggressively to find innovative solutions and improve their parts delivery. Whenever we order parts, we expect our suppliers to ship them out in the shortest possible time. That is the first one. Secondly, when our parts fail, we send them to MRO shops and to the OEMs for repair. In many cases, the OEMs say we don't have piece parts, so we keep the components in their shops. Because of this, we are suffering again. So our next message is, please do whatever you do, repair our components, and turn them to us in the shortest possible time. The third message I have to them is that the prices have skyrocketed. I have to say that some suppliers, we feel some suppliers would like to take advantage of shortage of the parts to harvest unreasonably very high prices. Prices for some parts sometimes become not only twice, up to 3 times the prices that we used to pay before a year or 2 years. So we see it doesn't cover all the suppliers, but few suppliers were very disappointed with their, I would say, unethical business practice. So we expect reasonable price. Prices have increased. We accept that because global inflation is there. But it has to be reasonable. So this is the type of support that we expect from our suppliers.
Thank you so much. The challenges are huge, but you're making grave allegations. You are saying that some suppliers are overcharging African Airlines and they're misusing or abusing their dominant position. These are quite grave allegations. Would you agree?
Well, Nick, I'm saying this, I understand it may disappoint some of them. I would like to first say, to express my thanks and appreciations who have worked day and night and with us and supported us in our AOG situations. Maybe this constitutes 95% of the suppliers. But for some, I can bring you evidence. I can show in private that some suppliers are charging us 3 times the price. Is it fair? And I don't think it will be unfair to complain on this. So I can demonstrate this with examples.
Yeah, thank you so much. I do hope there are many respected suppliers attending this conference. And I really do hope that this issue can be further addressed later today and tomorrow during the panel sessions, because this problem is huge globally, but we have heard of Dreamliners in Africa being grounded for lack of spares. This is terrible. You know, we really need to find a solution. And it's very difficult because it looks like the suppliers, there's a shortage, number one, supply and demand. And some of the suppliers are taking advantage of this position. But at the end of the day, you have to value your relationship with your airline customer. So short time gain may be long time pain. So I do hope they will bear this in mind. I have had the amazing privilege, honor, and pleasure over the years to interact with many CEOs of Ethiopian Airlines, from Colonel Semret Bedani, Captain Mohammed, Captain Demisi. There was a professor, I can't remember his name, but he was a dear friend, treated me so well. And of course, there were other CEOs. And now we have your good self. I have had the pleasure and honor to know you for quite a few years. And I must say you are a very humble man, very knowledgeable man, very warm and engaging. And I want to thank you for all the support you've given me over the years. But when you got into the office, what were your key objectives and how far have you gone in achieving your ambitions as CEO, Group CEO?
I worked in Ethiopian Airlines for the last 40 years. And when I took over this responsibility, I was 38 years of service. And particularly during the last minimum 15 years, I was sitting in the executive committee. I was a member of the executive committee for more than 15 years. I actively participated in the development of Ethiopian Vision 2025 strategy and the most recent strategic roadmap, Vision 2035. I am part of it. So when I took over with my current responsibility, the company was not new to me. I was part of it. And I fully owned the strategic roadmap that was developed during the last few years. So my mission was to continue driving this strategic roadmap. I didn't want to bring a shift in direction because I believe in our strategic direction, in our strategic plan. And I took it as a mission just to continue with this strategic plan with an overarching strategy of fast, profitable, and sustainable growth. That is our corporate strategy. It's a growth strategy. It has to be sustainable. It has to be fast and profitable. So during the last 2 years, I focused on implementation of the strategies, which is anchored on 5 pillars. The first one was to continue expanding and modernizing our fleet, which we are doing now. The second one was to invest in infrastructure that would support further growth of the airline. And during the last 2 years, we have been investing a lot in our facilities, including airports, MRO capabilities, cargo facilities, in our training academy, which was recently upgraded to an aviation university. This was the second one. The third one is investment in human resources. And we are hiring young people from Ethiopia in large number to train them into pilots, technicians, cabin crew, and commercial people. So in summary, what I did was simply we continued with the strategic plan that was developed earlier.
Thank you. And it seems to be working very well.
Yes, it's working.
Yeah, which is amazing. Let me turn to your management style. How would you compare your management style to your predecessors over the years?
It's a very difficult question. Look, my boss, my predecessor, my boss, was very aggressive in everything. Probably I am less aggressive in that. But he and I always believed in teamwork. And I strongly believe in teamwork. I believe that success will come only when the executive team work in harmony, all of us pulling in the same direction, and that I am pursuing it still with belief that success comes from teamwork. So that is what I am doing. That it's not only at the executive level, but we encourage all our staff to work as a team while they execute their daily operation. The third one is what I did something different probably is that I tried to create a harmonious work environment. Earlier we had labor unrest, a lot of problems, but during the last 2 years we have cleared it out, and we have a very good industrial peace in the company. The other area I focused was that creating a more conducive environment for employees to conduct their operation. I always believed in 2 critical values. The first one is safety. Safety can break a company. So we have given more focus on safety, which is followed by enhancing our customer service. We have a lot of initiatives to improve our customer services for the benefit of our long-term success. So these are the areas, but in terms of leadership, I think these are what I can explain.
Yeah, thank you so much. Finally, Ethiopian Airlines, to the best of my knowledge, going back in history, is the only African airline that was built on the back of a Pan-African mission from day one. This is really what impressed me about Ethiopian Airlines right from the start when I first engaged with the airline. A Pan-African vision and mission. And I think you've really been amazing in building bridges around Africa. So congratulations on that. However, when we look at Africa, we keep talking about cooperation, joint ventures, etc., and we don't see the type of pace of development that we would wish. What can be done to accelerate the Pan-African vision that is still instilled in Ethiopian? How can we get the continent to move forward? When I started in African aviation, Africa had 2.2% of the global market. Today it's still 2.2 or even 2.1. So the cake is getting bigger, but it feels we're not moving forward. What can we do really because we have to work together to move Africa forward. What can be done to achieve that objective? Thank you.
It's very sad that the African air transport industry is still at the lowest level. Very unfortunate and disappointing for all of us. If we briefly see the African airline landscape, we have airlines that are struggling still to survive, leave alone to make profit. We have fragmentation in the air transport industry. If we see the reasons behind this is, in a nutshell, as I tried to mention earlier, we can categorize it into broad categories. The first one is there is no conducive business environment for airlines to grow and flourish. That is the biggest problem. What I mean is that I tried to mention them. In the first case, the cost of operation in Africa is very high. High fuel price compared to Europe. High taxes, unbearable taxes. And very low level of infrastructure. Difficulty to get hard currency. Many airlines in Africa are having difficulty to get hard currency to buy spare parts. That is one of the issues raised by the Nigerian domestic airlines. They are complaining on the government they couldn't get hard currency to buy spare parts. There are several reasons. The business environment is not conducive, and to change this, the governments have to take the lead. They have to liberalize the traffic. Right. SATIM is a good opportunity for airlines to expand their network, but protectionism is still an issue there. The tax issue has to be addressed in line with what is being practiced outside Africa. Fuel price has to be reasonable and the like. The second issue is an issue of that is internal to the airlines themselves. I think the airline business needs a strong leadership, a disciplined leadership. For an airline to succeed, it has to control its costs. But as you mentioned earlier, I don't see that cost consciousness among African airlines. It needs disciplined leadership. That they have to have a vision, they need to have a strong strategy, a working strategy, And in general, there is leadership problem among African airlines. I don't mean in all of them, but in several of them. Some are still very good. We have to address this. But when it comes to industry level, there is a big opportunity for cooperation. I always say cooperation will help for the African air transport industry to grow. To have cooperation, we need to change our mindset. When we go to a certain country and start a joint venture, we are accused of domination. We are not flying there to dominate. We are not. We have established an airline in Togo in partnership. Is that to dominate Togo's? No. We have to trust each other. We have to cooperate. The terms of cooperation can be discussed and agreed. I am glad that Colonel Simrat is here. Ethiopian Airlines was established by TWA, an airline, a US airline that doesn't exist here. When they came here, they were given full freedom to establish and manage the airline. And they managed the airline for 25 years. 25 years. But during that period, thanks to our predecessors, Colonel Simrat and his colleagues, they were learning from them. They were establishing the training academy to train Ethiopian nationals to become technicians, pilots, cabin crew. And gradually, we phased the Americans out of Ethiopia. And the last person to replace was the CEO. And it was Colonel Simrat who replaced the Americans as a national CEO of Ethiopian Airlines. We never complained that the Americans came here to dominate us and so on. But here, we Africans are not open-minded. Instead of cooperating among ourselves, we prefer to go to Europe, bring consultants. They come to Africa, they do some things, and even we don't retain their knowledge. We don't learn from them and try to be independent. So, I'm sorry to say this. Our brothers and sisters, African Airlines, my advice to you is we are ready to help you to become an independent airline. But be ready on that journey. Don't think of that Ethiopian Airlines is here to exploit you and so on. Aska Airlines, still we are managing it, but after a few years, we will be hands off. They will be independent. But when they are independent, we make sure that they have the right leaders, the right work culture, the right number of skilled professionals, and we are helping them. So far, we were running the airline, but now they have reached a point where they need to establish their own MRO. We are going to establish MRO in Lome, in partnership between Ethiopian Airlines and this time, not the banks, but with Aska Airlines. We are going to raise the cooperation to the next level. You know what their plan is? When this MRO is established, it will not target only Aska Airlines. They wanted to provide service to the West African Airlines. They are going to establish a training academy. Everything is done organically, little by little. They have ordered a 737 flight simulator. They are going to start training 737 pilots. They are all 737 operators. They are going to start training their own pilots. Look how capacity, internal capacity is developed internally. An airline cannot have internal capacity overnight. It can be done only gradually. We have our own training academy. We never say to them, you cannot establish a training center there. So far, we have trained their professionals, but now we are there to help them to be self-sufficient. All their aircraft are coming here for maintenance up to now. But after a few years, they are going to maintain their aircraft. They have sent their young people to be trained here as pilots and technicians. We have already trained and returned to them 25 aircraft technicians. Up to now, only Ethiopian technicians were supporting them on site. And now they have sent how many? Pilots and the technicians. They have sent 20 more pilots to be trained in our academy. Means they will be self-sufficient in their pilot requirement. And in maintenance, they are going to send their people in large number. We are going to train them so that they will support their MRO by their own. So, for African Airlines, number one, we have to remove this fragmentation and have to do some consolidation. The air transport industry needs economies of scale. An airline cannot be profitable with one or two or three airplanes. That's not sustainable. So this is my kit of advice to you. We have a bright future. Africa is expected to grow economically faster than the rest of the world because it's going to start from low base and the growth will be faster. There are opportunities for us. African Continental Free Trade Area is a big initiative that will enable Africans to do more business among themselves, which will require more travel within Africa, to do more trade among themselves. That will require a lot of air cargo. There is a big opportunity for airline industry to give service. On the other hand, SATM is another big opportunity for airlines. We will have more opportunity to fly freely within Africa. So we have opportunities there, but we have to grab them by doing the right things starting today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ato Mesfin. I know we've kept you quite a while, and I really want to thank you again for that. Are there any critical issues I've omitted that you would like to comment on?
I think with what I have said last, I tried to summarize that Ethiopian Airlines is here to support in your today's requirement in the areas of training and MRO. We have a very good MRO establishment that can provide you with airframe maintenance, component maintenance, engine maintenance in certain areas. You can use our services. This is at will. The second one is in your strategic development as airlines. We can also help you in establishing your facilities and enabling you to gradually become more self-sufficient. That is the message I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sure you'll all agree with me. Very impressive. This is why ET continues to lead from the front in Africa. And I was very impressed that I was really a little bit too worried to talk about the fears in Africa. in some countries that ET is coming to dominate, because I've seen that myself in many countries in Africa. I've been very fortunate to be close to the powers that be, and many fear ET rather than trying to embrace you. So I hope that a harmonious solution can be found going forward, because I do believe that many African countries can benefit from what you've, I mean, just look at the track record. It speaks for itself. You know, we need to utilize this, leverage it for Africa's whole benefit. All that is left for me to do right now is to thank you sincerely, Ato Mesfin, for being here, for spending time with us, for sharing your wisdom and friendship and warmth, for supporting the conference. And truly from the bottom of my heart, your open door nature to me over the years, I look forward to coming to Addis. I look forward to mixing with the key aviation personnel. Even from, I remember when I first came to Addis, and I don't want to drag on too long, walking around the workshops at MRO ET, and it wasn't like it is now. It was quite basic in those days. What impressed me so much, and I'm talking 25 plus years ago, I felt I was in China. And I love China, by the way. I hope Chinese, if they're here, you know, I don't mean it disrespectfully. All the technicians and staff were bent over the bench, doing whatever they were doing. And every workshop I was taken on a tour, everywhere I went. So I don't really want to focus on the top management. I'm talking about the core staff at the bottom. Or not, I don't want to say bottom, but you know what I mean. The work ethic was so impressive in my view. And then you get to the senior management and stuff. I was truly impressed. I had only seen it maybe in Mauritius, Air Mauritius in those days, but not to the scale of in Addis. And I must admit, I was hooked on ET from very early. Based on achievements, by the way. No sentiment, just achievements, practical achievements. So I want to end this interview by thanking you sincerely once again. And I would like all of us to give a huge round of applause to the CEO. Thank you so much. Now the procedure going forward before lunch is I will take a group picture with Ato Mesfin, if you kindly agree. and then Ato Mesfin will leave the hall for his own other commitments. We have one more speaker before lunch, and I know she does not want to speak to an empty hall. So please, after the group picture, could you kindly stay back to listen to our final presentation before lunch? Ato, let's take a picture.